All right. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Andrew Smirsick. I'm here today with Calvin Lim. What's your training company called right now? Like, give them the info
Oh, it's super secret. It's Pace Training Initiative
on Facebook, right?
LLC. Yeah, it's on Facebook somewhere.
Um, so we're going to talk about a mindset meme that I had posted a while back, and it made all the right people mad, and then our people totally understood it. So the quote that was in the meme, and basically my mindset memes are, you see my logo, and then it has a thing written underneath it. But the quote was, "Mastering the fundamentals is a great way to avoid learning what's important." And so a bunch of people freaked out about that, and as I anticipated, I ain't gonna lie, like I knew that would happen, and but that wasn't the purpose behind it. The purpose behind it was for our people to think about that quote. Now, what do I actually mean by that? So, mastering the fundamentals, right? When I say the word fundamentals, I'm talking about the shooting fundamentals. Now, people will say, well, this thing and that thing is fundamental to it. It's like, yeah, I get it, because I would say that too. But in common language, the fundamentals would be like sight alignment, sight picture, trigger control, grip, follow through, stance, breathing, blah, blah, blah. That stuff, the stuff involved in pressing the trigger and putting a bullet on target. Now, is that important? Of course, that's important. Yes, it's very important. Now, let's talk about the word mastering. What does it take to actually master that? Now, you may interject your thing here on what you believe mastering is. When I think about truly mastering, I think about like Japanese guys that make swords. It's like they dedicate their entire life to this one thing. Now, are they great at it? Yes, they are great at it. There's another thing called like the 10,000 hour rule. Like, takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. And the other part of that is simply that, like, if you have to master a skill, if you're trying to master it, you have to know life that one thing. As in, all your extra time is dedicated to that one thing. And that is a consistent problem that I see within the training realm, the gun community as a whole, right? It's all about mastering the fundamentals, back to basics, blah, 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 blah. And like, if you think about it, that's putting you into this little box. And it's all about shooting the gun. Like, we just did a video the other night on no more war belts in class, no more battle belts, because there's a disconnect between putting that on and taking it off. I'm in gun guy mode. Now I'm not in gun guy mode. Mastering the fundamentals, I believe, does the same thing. Like, you're solely focused on the shooting aspect. And it's funny, dude, you look at the guys that got mad at that quote, that was basically what they were doing. Yeah. They're solely focused on that. And then they talk about gear. Yeah. For like 10 minutes.
Like, I'm like this video about mastering fundamentals and why you're wrong. Now let's talk about this gear.
Yeah, let's talk about iron sights on a red dot pistol for 20 minutes.
And but why I don't have them. Wait, he doesn't have them either. But he's wrong.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck that guy.
Yeah, I'm not even going to get into that.
Sorry, I don't watch stuff on the internet, so I'm always behind on what people say on the internet. I'm like, what?
But so now let's think about it. Yeah. When we think about overall preparedness, right? Overall preparedness. That's like why we carry guns and we get good with them. What percentage of overall preparedness involves shooting accurately, pressing the trigger, right? To me, that's like a fraction of a percentage. It's very important, very important. However, there's a lot more that goes into that. And so when guys are solely focused on mastering the fundamentals, like, and that's the way they're approaching it, like, I'm no shit going to be the fucking best at this. I want to be as good as that master class USPSA shooter. Like, that guy, to get to that class, he has to know life those skills, and he is doing it like also for income, right? So if you imagine you quit your job and you're only going to focus on shooting, that's what it really takes to master it. Okay. So doing some dry practice, like daily, you can put in 5-10 minutes of work every single day, and you will be ahead of probably 90% of gun owners, right? You agree?
Probably more.
Yeah, probably more. A higher percentage.
Yeah, definitely.
10 minutes of work a day. That's it. Now, when you think about overall preparedness, the shooting aspect, like if it was a pie chart, it'd be a little sliver sticking in there, shooting. Now, so what are you doing as far as medical, fitness, like have you ever done any force on force? How good are you with a radio? Um, like all the other stuff. Like, did your family have a plan? Have you ever practiced a 911 call? Do you know what to do to interact with police? Like all those other things. Are you practicing those things? Another big part again is a lot of like the best shooters I've ever seen don't even carry a gun. So it's like, you know, if someone tells me I'm a really good shot and they don't have a gun on them, I'm like, no, you're not. Like, you literally can't shoot. You don't have that ability because you don't even carry your gun. Again, it's the putting on the war belt to do the gun guy stuff, or the battle belt or the competition belt or whatever. Taking that off, mental disconnect happens. Now I'm in some other mode. So, like, if you're solely focused on the fundamentals, getting really good at the shooting aspect, you are lacking in other areas willingly. And, you know, this is where people will say, like, okay, performance beats tactics. Performance is a tactic. Your ability to shoot is a tactic. However, again, if you're not carrying your gun, that doesn't matter. And you can be the best shooter in the world, still get fucking shot. And then if you have no medical skills, or you're like, oh, no, I've done a medical class. Okay, but you haven't practiced that, but you've practiced your reload a million times. How often do guys reload in gunfights in the civilian world?
According to random statistics I hear on the internet,
the data.
I don't know what the data is, but because no one does studies on this shit. Like, no one cares on private Joe Blow citizens.
It's basically like FBI studies on cops, right?
Yeah,
mostly
plain clothes cops, shit like that.
Yeah.
But
it's like you're
zero.
You're not likely at all to
zero.
reload your gun in a gunfight as a civilian. Yet guys focus on that, like the 1R1 drill. Hearing the beep, press, reload, press, and they're focused on the speed more than anything. Like, they look down willingly, even though it's funny. Like, you know, looking down at the gun. Who said you can just bring the gun up where you can fucking see it? You know, and still see what's going on beyond that. Anyways. Focus on that thing that they're super likely to not need. But, like, when is the last time you've seen them do a tourniquet drill with a shot timer? Like, where are those videos? I posted a couple of them like a year or two back, you know, and I still don't see people doing that.
They don't.
But they will show their draw stroke, their build drills, their 1R1, their reload stuff. And it's like, okay, is it important? Yes. And am I saying you're never going to reload in a gunfight? No. And in fact, like, I probably carry more fucking guns and magazines than the majority of people. And that's the other funny one, bro. How many times have I heard someone tell me how I should reload my gun when they got their war belt on, but when they take that off and they do carry their gun out in the civilian world, they don't even carry a spare magazine.
Well, that's
like, why do you even practice the reload if you're not going to carry a fucking mag?
Well, statistically, that's probably why people don't reload their guns after or during gunfights, because they just don't fucking have it. They shoot each other or they shoot at each other. They're like, oh my God, I ran out of bullets, and they take off. Or they actually run away.
When we talk about like data can always be skewed. It's like people say like, oh, people don't do that in real gunfights. Like, well, did they ever practice that? Like, did they ever acquire that skill in the first place? Did they ever actually get good at the skill? Not master, because that's gonna take for fucking ever. It's like unrealistic to try to master something, especially when it comes to overall preparedness, because there's so many more factors than just the shooting the gun or one-handed or whatever. But like, did they even like maintain proficiency on that skill? And then did they ever do it in force on force? Because like, when I'm in force on force right now, I am focused on the technique I use as far as grip, the way the gun, like the way I'm gripping the gun in my hands right now, because it's like, yes, I'm really good at that on the range. But then when I add stress to it, like, that skill it comes down to a lower level. So I'm consciously focused on it right now. So if guys have never like actually done the skill and then actually done it under stress and got themselves proficient, not master is a much higher level than that. Then of course they're not going to do it. It's kind of like people say that rats tourniquets don't work and look at the data and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, well, what is the tourniquet everyone practices with? It is a cat style tourniquet. It is cats are great tourniquets, right? But you can't like just say they don't work because of data. And then where is the data? Like, is there like a study, no shit you can watch and see? And then from there, can you actually analyze what those individuals who are applying the tourniquet, how often they practice, were they even good at it? Because from what I see, and I'm sure you see it too, most medical professionals fucking suck at applying tourniquets. Like the dudes in our circle that do more training at a higher level and they're doing different types of training, those are the guys, like the only guys I've ever seen that actually practice that on a regular basis. Now, there could be like an SF medic or something like that, like a higher level of military that practices it more.
But usually on somebody else.
Yeah, it's usually on someone else. It's usually not self-aid. Just like every time I got EMT, military medic, or someone who's the medical professional, they suck at self-application. I sucked at self-application. I was really good at it in the Marine Corps because we do it on all these people, not on ourselves. We didn't practice that nearly as much, and that was a problem. All right, but not trying to dive into the tourniquet discussion so much right now. That is a totally another subject. But the thing is, like, when you look at data, can you actually see what that person was taught? Can you actually see that person's real proficiency before they're in the emergency? So, like, did they learn actually the right way to do it? Did they actually practice to proficiency? And then did they do that under like force on force, some sort of stress inoculation? And even just force on force is not the highest level of stress inoculation. Like, there is more stuff beyond sim rounds that you, if you really want to be good at that skill, you need to practice. And that's another thing. Mastering the fundamentals, right? Like you dry practice and you shoot and you're a fucking master class shooter. Like it's said that there's stress involved with competition shooting. Yes, there is. There is a degree of stress. Okay. People are watching you. There's a shot timer. Maybe the video's getting posted on the internet. That is a good thing to use. I use that in class. Like I will film students. I will have a shot timer or whatever. Rarely. I'm going to start using it a little bit more, but it's not even the time I'm so much worried about in those drills. That's another subject too. But like in time matters, yes, speed, you should be good at doing things fast. But like I also have the students step up and watch that one guy shoot that drill. And I got that from John Dufresne, Connect Consulting, great instructor you should train with. But that does add some pressure. However, like force on force, totally different pressure, right? Mm-hmm. Like I said, when I'm in force on force, I am focused on my technique right now. I get to do it on a pretty decent basis. Even sometimes it's just against my brother in the yard, but it is still getting things shot at me. And it's very humbling when you get shot in the face by a 13-year-old. Yeah. You got anything to add on that?
Who hasn't mastered the basics? Or master the fundamentals.
No,
right.
He's like barely shot real guns at all, and he is smoking adults who shoot guns as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, but we had to
not just me, like everyone,
and it's like a different discussion, right? Like how many gangbangers or Joe Blow grandma who murders some dude and goes back to sleep normally, did they really master the fundamentals?
No,
they just fucking went out and killed somebody.
Yeah, and it's like
that's probably what you need to master, by the way.
It's like when they say like proficiency performance beats tactics, it can, but also you can't tell that to the family of a cop who got shot in the back of the head while he's sitting in a squad car. Like his ability to shoot his gun was completely diminished by a dude just walking up and capping him when he wasn't paying attention, and it's like, okay, if skill beats tactics, like if your performance shooting beats tactics, why do Delta Force guys and Navy SEALs and all those SF guys, why do they attack at night with night vision and UAVs and helicopters and platoons of Rangers backing them up and shit? Like, why don't they just meet them in the open?
Yeah, why don't they just do the high noon?
Like, because fucking tactics matter, In tactics, if we're going to think about what does that word even mean, doing things and using available means to put yourself at an advantage while putting your enemy at a disadvantage. And hey, your ability to shoot is a tactic that you can use if you have it. So it is important. And the other part of this is like why I say being good at shooting is important is you are either gifted opportunities to shoot the bad guy or you earn opportunities to shoot the bad guy, but that opportunity is small and you have to make it count. again, if you're solely focused on the shooting aspect, you don't even know what the fuck I just said. Like that doesn't really register. And the other thing is like when like the mastering the fundamentals and there's no such thing as advanced shooting and all these like weird things. It's like, okay, well, like if there's no such thing as advanced shooting, like why don't you go walk behind the target while a guy is shooting at it and just like trust that he's going to do the right thing? Like, because that would be pretty fucking advanced for someone.
Advanced
right?
walking.
Well, that'd be a pretty advanced thing for the shooter to do, right? But really, if their fundamentals are down and they're, quote unquote safe, they should be able to make that happen. But that would be reckless because that would be way too advanced for someone, especially if they're just learning how to hold the fucking gun. So anyway, there's no such thing as advanced shooting.
Do it anyways.
That's wrong. It's definitively wrong. Okay, so again, just thinking about mastering the fundamentals. That's mastering the trigger press part. Okay, so like, have you ever even done that under stress? Because you could practice a whole really lot, never done under stress, and you'll see guys completely fall apart, like a little BB flying at them. They'll shoot the wrong person. They'll fucking not use their sights at all. They won't move because they've conditioned themselves to this certain way that you handle your gun, and that is static and going for shot time or speed. The other part of that too, like don't name names because like they've already said they don't want the thing put out with their name, but like the guys that were there when the competition shooting was first invented, like the pioneers of it, they don't like where it's gone. Like they were like, some of them even regret helping and proliferating it because of what it has become. One of the things they said to me was, it's gotten to the point where literally they are willingly gambling to win the competition. Because you have to do certain things that like you would not do in real life. Like one example of that is just shooting faster than your brain can process information. Like, and this is where like, the word practical shooting, it's not practical. You're running from spot to spot, putting 2 rounds into each target. Like that's not realistic to anything in real life. Now, are you practicing skills? Can you get good things out of it? Of course you can. Like you should look for the good things in everything that you can take away. And that's also why I actually fucking trained with those guys. Okay. But again, what those pioneers were telling me is like, it's just gotten to a place where it was never supposed to go. It has become too gamey, too much of a game. And, this can be illustrated very simply when you just look at the gear they're wearing. Like a gun that has a fucking charging handle on it, a pistol. Like, have you ever seen someone conceal that?
No. But they're 2 different practitioners.
Yeah.
Or non-practitioners, right? Like a one who is probably serious about the craft, the art, is not going to have all that shit. While the guy who is a gamer probably will have that, but he probably ain't carrying it.
And there's nothing practical about that. Like if the words have meaning, mastering has a meaning, practical has a fucking meaning, So it's like, and then the belts is not a thing they're wearing in real life, right? And again, I'm not shitting on those guys. Like that's cool, and dudes like to do that. That's fine. Like I like to do shit that has nothing to do with the martial lifestyle. Like playing guitar has nothing to do with this, right? And that's just kind of the way I look at it. It's like they may be able to take, they're good at shooting, so that can be applicable. But overall, there's a bunch of negatives that come with it. So the guys that pioneered the competition shooting, they have seen so many negatives with it that they don't even like where it's gone. Like they regret it even. Now, all right. So the simple thing, mastering the fundamentals. What mastering means is that you're solely focused on that and you're no-lifing those skills to get good at the shooting part. Fundamentals of shooting is what I'm talking about. So if you're doing that, again, do you have any medical training? If you do, have you honed those skills? Have you actually practiced where you're proficient at them? And have you done them under stress? Your first time fucking doing shit under stress should not be when people will die if you fail. Force on force, have you done that? Low light, how good are you at that? Because like, how many different things go into low light? Like how many different methods are there, techniques, and like and tactics that go into that, like different ways of skinning the cat. Like I'm even at a point where I'm like, I don't think there's a definitive answer to, well, most things, but especially low light. There's so many different factors that go into it, especially when you do it in force on force.
Yeah, it's crazy, but like low light, like the amount of time we spend with low light is like cops, regular folks, like statistically, most violent crime is at low light, and yet most of our practice is non-low light, like 98%. Like I do a decent amount of low light, and is it nowhere near the amount that anyone would be. Like it should be inverted. Like whatever your range time should all be low light, and arguably like 2% should be daylight, because you have the best senses available and you're using different techniques. To the primary thing, like people forget, is for 98% of all of our problems is we still have to identify what the problem is. And that comes usually through some sort of sight or sound, usually sight, before we can use a gun as a solution, if it is a solution. And that's what a lot of low light's about, right? And people don't do that. It's like the whole fundamentals thing. And I mentioned this about classes. Like, have you thought about every professional, every class out there is a fundamentals class? Because it's like, but I know those dudes, some of those dudes are stone cold killers. They know how to do the thing and teach the thing, but it's a back to fundamentals class, right?
Yeah, back to basics. That was
back to basics.
That was one of the things that drove me nuts in the Marine Corps. Is it was like, we have, like, you go to boot camp and they tell you forget everything you learned in the civilian world, and then you go to School of Infantry, they tell you forget everything you learned in boot camp. And then you get the fleet and they tell you forget everything you learned at the School of Infantry. And it's like, hey, somewhere in there, this fucking system is retarded and it should be fixed. Like, we should be building and getting better, so we're not going back to fucking basics. Like, if what we were doing actually made sense, we wouldn't be doing that. And it's like people say, like, there's another thing I've heard is like, basics wins gunfights. And it's like, no, I do not. I entirely disagree with that. And you can just watch gunfights in Chicago that are happening every fucking day. The dudes that are running, they're probably not getting shot. Like, fucking a whole bunch of rounds can get fired. Dudes will scatter and not get shot. Now, what does it even mean to win a gunfight? Well, that is determined by many different factors. Like, number one, who is with you right now? Number two, like the who else is around. Number three, what is your bad guy actually doing? Like, and then we can go way, way deeper on that. That would be a great thing to discuss. But it's like, what does it actually winning mean? Like, because if it's just me and my 3-year-old right now, winning probably means I get her to safety. You know, if my daughter comes out alive, that is a win. All right. Me dying while I accomplish that is less of a win. But did I achieve the primary goal? Like, we can go deep into that. But like,
what percentage of truth is true?
Yeah, that's another one. You explain that. I'll get to my next point.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No.
So like everyone always says, well, this is true. This is a fact, because of some sort of number that's pulled out of some crazy study that no one can cite. And it's like, well, what he says, what's an example? More guns equals less crime. That's a general you always hear, right? Stupid. And like, yeah, there's some truth to that, but what percentage? And is it like 51% or is it like 1%? Because technically there is some truth in it, but you can't say like it's more than 51%. Yeah. And that's like the fundamentals thing. Do you need fundamentals to shoot the gun and perhaps win a gunfight? Sure, probably. But is it the end all be all? Probably not. So that there is some percentage of truth. And it's like every time
and it depends on the fight.
Yeah, and it depends on the fight, because if it's a non-gunfight, then the fundamentals will fucking help you. Yeah. And it's like the whole, well, every time we go to a gun class, you go back to basics, you learn the fundamentals level 1, whatever you do. And then it's like, okay, so when do we get to the part to where I'm supposed to learn everything else that's important? And what is important for what context? If you go back to the simple thought is whatever your goal is, and then you say the question, right? Like, what is, is it more important to shoot the bad guy or not get shot?
Mm-hmm. And that depends.
And it depends, right? Then we say, well, generally speaking, it's probably not be shot. And part of that solution maybe shoot him first. Mm-hmm. Is that fair? In which case, if you have to shoot him first, then a sub 1 and carrying your gun loaded is probably a pretty big portion of that. But then overall picture, it says, well, it might be a smaller portion because there's other shit you could be doing, like not getting into the fight, like wearing your body armor, like running away, like seeking cover, like making smart decisions, like not being there in the first place. And it's like, well, fuck all that other stuff. We're just gonna stand here and do sub ones and R1, one R1 and reload one and all this other shit all day. And then we say, hey, we're really good at this. All right, perfect, cool, you're really great at it. And the other 99.9% of everything else in that small piece, plus all the other pieces that you're supposed to have, you have not developed at all. That doesn't even include low light, no hand skills, verbal skills, mental skills, all of that, lifting, jiu-jitsu.
Having more options besides I'm good at shooting.
Yeah, this one stage. Like if I hear that the build drill somehow, well, no one never says that, but this is what's implied. The build drill is somehow the end all be all drill to gauge gunfighting, or the Mozambique, or. And they don't say that. No one says that. Oh, okay, I had one guy who kind of said that. Yeah, but
I've seen.
Yeah, I have one guy who kind of said this is the skills that we need that won the Great War on Terror. I was like, no, dude, it wasn't. Like it's like the joke about 2 world wars with 1911s. Like they didn't win the world wars, right?
This world, like fucking picture of the 1911 2 world wars. Picture of the atom bomb and fucking all the graves of the Russian soldiers. Like, that had no effect on it. It was the fucking 1911.
Right. The 100 million tons of bombs dropped. No effect versus the 45 and the 1911.
How many fucking acres of land could we cover with airplanes that are fucking shot out of the sky?
Exactly.
So like along those lines, a couple of things to chime in would be like, so what percentage of this is true? The thing I look for is the root cause of the problem. Okay, so like, okay, Rat's tourniquet doesn't work. Okay, were they ever taught how to do that properly? Because all the video, not all, the majority of the videos I have seen saying bad things about like that tourniquet, they are applying it wrong. Number one. Number two, they're like they're trying to put their arm through the loop, like not using it the way it was designed, the way it was intended. The funny thing is, you can still do it wrong as long as you're actually pulling it tight because you fucking practice tourniquets and don't just focus on mastering the fundamentals. You can still fuck it up and get it right.
Yeah,
it's
it can still work.
Or they were never taught how to do it right in the first place. So they're like following the shit that was taught early 2000s about like this far above double bones and fucking this far above the joint. And now they're trying to wrap it over a big ass bicep or over the fucking thick thigh muscle, like the wrong spot to apply it in the first place. And then have they practice it? Have they fucking honed those skills? Have they done it under stress? If we don't know those, we don't know the root cause. You're just looking at data. Yes or no, right? Like kind of the difference, like if you want to put it in shooting perspective, like you could say hit target or miss target, right? Like a steel target kind of does that if you were to score it, right? Then you could go to a big piece of paper with a bullseye target. Now you can look a little bit deeper and then you could film the guy and watch what he's doing and see like, so on the paper, you can see exactly where the holes went. You can have a better score because it's like, 10 shots would be out of 100 points versus 10 shots on steals out of 10 points, right? We can get a little bit deeper into it. Now we film him, watch him shooting, and we can see exactly what his fingers are doing, what his hands are doing, what his eyes are doing, what his body is doing. We can go deeper into it. And then we can even look at what training do you have? How much have you practiced? And then we can keep going deeper. But if we just look at like yes or no data, it's like, that's not actually good information. It's information. It's just surface level. So like what percentage of it is true? And again, like that goes into everything we are analyzing. So if we're just doing a surface level, that's all we're getting, the surface level. It's not even fucking good information. Fuck, I forget what the other thing was. What was it that you talked about a second
Which
ago?
one? Oh, I talked about a lot of shit.
Brief summary.
Of what?
Single words, yeah.
Words have meaning? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Well, anyways, so
people who regurgitate.
Oh, I got all right. So I got where I want to go next. Okay, so again, mastering the fundamentals, right? That is the how to shoot. The why to shoot is always more important. Okay, shooting the wrong person because you don't know why, or like ending up in fucking prison, killing the wrong person, many other things, or not even shooting at all because you don't understand the why. That is important. So like when we talk on like mindset, use of force, going over like scenarios, the real life or possible ones, like that part is the important part, right? That is the most important part. Like, cause if you are the best shooter in the world, and again, you're not carrying your gun, it doesn't fucking matter. All those skills, like you could have mastered it too, but they don't carry their gun. And you can look at some competition shooters like openly admit that, you know,
Yeah.
and hey, that's your fucking decision. Okay. That's your decision.
Can I give a correlative?
Yeah.
Let me give you a correlative example, right? Like there's thousands of doctors, EMTs, medics, professional medical people, right? And they go out in their cars, they drive all the time, they wander by an accident or someone chokes on their peanuts or something at the bar, and they have zero medical equipment with them available to them. They have all the knowledge, they have experience, skills, all that stuff. They have a degree, obviously, all those licenses, and no equipment that they need to help save someone.
Mm-hmm.
And they fill in the gaps, hopefully, with willing to participate. That's a completely different story. The ability to have that knowledge and experience and skill, but unfortunately, they are missing a kind of a critical piece of equipment, like the medical stuff,
fucking stuff,
that they normally use, and they could easily have that in their vehicle or even on their person
for free, even
for free. Yeah, I mean, shit's expired, still free, right?
Yeah.
And they don't. And gun people, gun professionals, whatever, professional shooters are no different, right? So yeah, it's you can have all that in here, and you can have all of it, but if you don't have it available when you need it in that moment, then it's not really a useful skill, is it?
Yeah, and like my statistic on it is when it's their first class with me, 100% medical professionals do not bring any medical to class, even though there's a bunch of guys handling guns around each other.
Right.
Like a place where you should definitely fucking have medical. But no, there's a disconnect. It's like the war belt for them, putting on the war belt to do the gun stuff and then taking off and completely checking out. The war belt for the medical professional is putting on their uniform for their job, right?
Absolutely.
And then after that,
it's done.
Yeah, checked out. And hey, man, like I was the same way when I was in the Marine Corps. I didn't think martially when I was not in uniform. And even then, like when you're in training, you're simulating most of the time. That's pretty much what it is, simulated. Even like a known distance range is simulated engagement. But what are we doing in between fucking distances? We're unloading, you know, we're checked out. It's also like where you see guys that have atrocious gun handling with unloaded guns, right? It's like they unload, checked out completely. Yeah. Like, and the funny part is that's what generally leads to fucking people getting shot. I thought it was unloaded, right?
It's what we call, I mean, what I call like laziness. It's you fight lazy, you die lazy.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. And people get lazy and they say it's they say it's complacency, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, the reality is why would you be lazy about whether you're learning, training, practicing, or employing said skills to save a life or take a life? Like, you probably shouldn't be lazy because that other dude that you're trying to kill for whatever reason, like he's trying not to be killed. While if it was flipped around, you would be the one who, if you were to be attacked and someone's trying to kill you, would you want to fight lazy? You know, because you'll die like that. And that's just sad. But you know what?
And you know what? We all get fucking lazy on shit. Like,
we do.
I got fucking fat over the past couple of years because my main focus was going and taking classes and acquiring the skills and knowledge that I need. But like, and I used to be super fucking fit. Now I'm having to pay the stupid tax, the lazy tax, and I'm gonna have to fucking work twice as hard to get that back. And it's like, so again, having options, like we look at overall preparedness, right? You have time, energy, and money that you have to put into that. And if it's solely focused on the shooting aspect, that is like a little sliver on that pie chart, right? So it's like, again, we talked about, gun skills is important, but what about martial gun skills? Like outside of shooting fast and accurate, the word practical shooting or just your skills with a gun. Like we were doing a gunfight club yesterday we did tourniquets in the beginning. Then we did working in entanglement a little bit, like retention shooting, just like kind of a surface level knowledge on it. Because I'd rather them have a surface level knowledge on an entangled gunfight than fucking no life shooting till they're a master class shooter, right? And then we talked about interacting with police, 911 calls, and stuff like that. That was a 2-hour thing, and it's like, think about how many people have never fucking gotten that. And
these are tougher skills to I won't say to master.
Oh, I would say so.
But
yeah,
they're definitely more complex skills that have a greater bearing.
I would say way harder to master than shooting. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're doing the same master fundamentals.
Yeah, the biggest thing too is like you have a huge factor of just interacting with that person or people.
Yeah,
you know, the shooting in a gunfight can have that too, but it's a lot simpler.
Right.
You know, so like you have to work on the other things, right? So that could be medical, it could be force on force, low light, radios, it could be fucking gardening, overall preparedness, fire extinguishing, you know, that the hand-to-hand skills, the non-lethal or less lethal skills, the verbal skills, right? Which, like, you know, hey, I don't like, unless you regularly, like, you're a bouncer, you do customer service. If you're not doing a job where you're regularly talking with people, interacting with them, I promise you, dude, your skills at fucking on that are probably terrible unless you have a high intelligence level in that particular thing, which some people naturally do have, but like majority of people, dude, no, you gotta learn that. But basically, what are your options? You know, like if we're talking about a fight, you should have a lot of options between waving high and smiling at someone and cutting their face apart with your gun. All right. So like we're talking about the hand-to-hand stuff, the low light stuff. Okay. That's a part of it. But then also what emergencies, because we're talking about overall preparedness, do we have that don't involve a fucking gun? Right. So it could be like the radio, hurricanes come to Florida, power goes out, fucking cell phones stop working, stuff like that. Radio is really important. Radio also allows you to be a free human being when they don't allow you to use your cell phone. It's harder to fucking regulate and control that. So it could be emergencies, could be freedom. It could be like fucking, I don't know, countries get invaded. Yeah. You know, like, do you think people in Ukraine value radios right now? I think they do.
Yeah, I mean, pretty handy.
It could be having bags of rice. It could be like you're avoiding what's, you know, mastering the fundamentals is a great way to avoid learning what's actually important. What about your family? Like, what interactions do you have with your kids? If you're no-lifing skills, you're probably sacrificing something. In fact, I guarantee it, especially for mastering. If there's an emergency and you're not even there, how's your family going to handle it? Like, have you gone through that part? That's a part of mindset too, is actually having your family prepared. Those guys that are mastering their skills, mastering the fundamentals, have they even thought about having a life insurance policy for their wife and kids? Have they thought about putting one on their wife? Have they thought about putting one on their kids? Again, overall preparedness. This is important. So there's a lot of shit beyond the pressing the trigger. And this is why like Calvin and I, we're not a part of the gun community. Okay, we don't really have a name for it right now of what like we're a part of. I used to call it like the martial gun culture, but I think that's too gun related, right? We not trying to be that. So it's like it's not just about the fucking gun,
right?
Okay. So I probably had more thoughts, and I'll probably do more on this subject. But let's just read a few comments. Probably not going to read all of them because I got some other videos that I want to do. Oh, what's up, Sonny? How you doing, sir? Fundamentals. They are working on polishing the edges of roof tiles, but they haven't even brought land to build the house on. Hey, Javier, I saw you in here. We were busy yesterday, and it was late when we were done. So I didn't, like, you work and stuff, so I didn't want to bother you. But I owe you a phone call, and I apologize for not getting back to you yet. Unpopular thoughts. Anything to do with gun work is not fundamentals. Man, Sonny, I would like to see your live stream on that. Sonny does live streams, and you guys should be watching those. Tom should be doing live streams too. Tom has a big old brain, and him and I have a lot of discussions. Tom Holyby. Okay, maybe I'll go live and mock the Twitchers also. No, we're not trying to start a mockery of shit. I'm not gonna do that, but you can do whatever you want. Francisco, what's up, bro? I'm assuming that's the same one. That's my student.
Hello, sir.
Most of the data cannot be replicated through blind study or scientific examination. Correlation versus causation. Exactly. What is the root cause of the problem?
And no one cares.
Yeah.
You know, like no one's going to put millions of dollars down to study this shit.
Yeah.
Like
it's like Bill Burr calls it I'mRight.com.
Yeah.
You know, they're not looking to learn. They're looking to show how they're correct. All right, simple statistics drill. Gather 50 people you know. Ask how many times they shot somebody or been shot at. How many have drawn the gun, seen gunshot wound, applied tourniquet outside of training, packed stab wound. Yeah. Now ask about verbal conflict, escalation, being pushed or punched. Yeah, and Sonny, if you're still on here, bro, or someone else do it for him. Put Sonny's conflict management class as a comment on here because y'all should be taking that. That class is fucking phenomenal, and like it's like kind of where it's like you can tell how fucking smart Sonny is too, because it's like he'll put you in a scenario, you have to verbally handle it, and you're somewhat physical, but you're not punching or whatever. You know, it's meant to be a conflict management de-escalation type class, and we all felt like retards in it with how we handled the scenarios. And Sonny would just show us a few simple things. We're like, fuck, that's so good. And even when we were trying to be the bad guys, it was so hard to be the bad guy with how well he was handling it. It was amazing. Sup, Chuck? Stress induced training is the best way to test skills. Yep. And now here's a thing another mindset meme I came up with was
test skills. Okay. Yeah.
Without force on force, there is no test, and without true violence, there's no confirmation. So like you can test yourself, but there's still like you don't want to fool yourself. What was it that you said yesterday about
crazy shit?
Like force on force, prior experience can give you a bias.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you can think your
prior experience gives you a better Rolodex, right? But prior experience can also give you biases because it becomes embedded in our brain. Like this is how it will occur. And so we follow that. And then sometimes we're too dumb to realize, oh, maybe I shouldn't be following it to the same letter because it's not the same event. Things about stress. Another easy one is things learned under a stressful condition tend to be recalled under stressful condition. And as a note, not all stress is the same.
Yep.
And people forget that. They're like, oh, we do this competition shootings under stress. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's stress. It's like that percentage of truth. You know,
it's like it would be every competition would be way more stressful if there were people downrange pointing their loaded gun back at the guy with their finger on the wall of the trigger.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not saying do that. I'm not saying do that. But not all stress is the same.
Correct. Not all stress is the same.
If there was even one guy back there walking back and forth behind the targets, imagine the speed they would take it at. They would not be gambling anymore, most likely.
Hopefully. No, bro. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that dude's mindset is, I don't give a fuck. I don't care if I go to prison. I'm just going to blast it out there, and he does it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's another, like, mindset difference, like, with gangbangers, right? Like, they know after the first shot, a drive-by is a drive-by. It doesn't matter if I shoot one person or 20 people. The charge is the same, you know?
Yeah.
Right? So it's the same idea. But getting over that, and you're like, oh, shit, okay. It's all the fucking same. But it's not.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Inner city thugs are better at movement than tier 1 elites.
Yes.
Yep. Absolutely.
They have to go to prison too.
The other thing, again, when we you got to think about like what is the root cause, right? What is the context too? Because like most techniques out there are coming from military and law enforcement. Military and law enforcement, as Tom would say, there's other guys there to cover your fuck ups, right? It's like it is, you know, like two-handed shooting, static, can work in a gunfight, but it's not like if that's the only thing you've ever done. Like you are easy to shoot, you know. Is it good for 5 cops pointing their guns at one dude they pulled over? Yeah, of course. Like I wouldn't start moving it or go one-handed if I have 5 other dudes aimed at that guy.
It was 10-1. And we beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, we win. Yeah. What was it like? There was a couple years back, Jaeger had mentioned it. There was one dude with a rifle that held up in a building and held back a whole police department for like 17 hours.
No, it sounds like North Hollywood, right?
Yeah, North Hollywood shootout.
That's
why I did a class on that. Was
Yeah.
like, it's like, dude, 2 guys took on a city of cops for 44 minutes.
17 hours. Texas
Like,
Tower?
like,
no, not Texas Tower.
thank God, fucking no
10
one
hours.
died, you know. But
Yeah.
it was like, Jesus Christ, like, you know, 2 guys. And then the whole focus on that was the gear. It was that they had better guns, they had armor, right? But it's like, again, that whole mindset. It's like it's like Jaeger, how he described, you know, there's the survival principles, mindset, tactics, skills, gear, and then the idiot principles where you turn that upside down and you go gear, skills, maybe tactics, no mindset, right?
Like,
and yeah, and that's where we have seen it go. It was like 5-10 years ago, everyone was just focused on having the cool gun. Now,
well, it's the same.
Some of those guys have started focusing on the skills,
on
right?
a piece of skill.
Yeah,
but 9 times out of 10 they relate back to the gear, right? Because I need a comp gun, I need this kind of ammo, it's the same shit, the same cycle for the last 30-40 years. It's just presented differently. Yeah,
and on the flip side, I'll criticize our circle. Our circle was basically so like, oh, we're following mindset, tactics, skills, and gear, that they stopped focusing on the others, right? The others are still important. Like again, if you don't have your gun, you can't fucking do all those skills. Or, you know, you also want to have quality gear. You don't want to have shit. Like Zach Bush is really good at demonstrating this in drills where it'll be 1 guy versus 1 guy. And it's like this guy, I had a pump shotgun because I hadn't dropped the $2,000 on a semi-auto. My buddy, he had fucking dropped the money on a semi-auto, and I beat him on the loading part. I beat him on like port loading, maybe getting the shells in, and I'm not even that fast at that. But due to his gear, him having the mindset to buy that gear, he was able to beat me on the shooting part simply because he doesn't have to go like that in between.
But here's the
thought, like, it mattered.
Here's the thought on that though. For what general purpose would I need that extra amount of like shots or horsepower, so to speak, that I wouldn't? It's like a car, right? Like if I'm just doing a daily driver, do I really need 500 horsepower and to go 250 miles an hour to go get my groceries?
Right.
You know, and it's the same idea with like,
do I need a charging handle on the side?
Right. Do I need a semi-auto shotgun
pistol? You know
what I'm about to do? And I'm like, well, if you're gonna mass murder some people, then shit, yeah.
Like, sit up, please? Do I need a staccato? You know, to carry, or maybe I could just. Maybe just get by so good with a Glock that better than the guys with a staccato. But anyways, the other side, so it's like there's the idiot principles where they're focused on gear, and now finally it's like the gun community has progressed where they're starting to focus on skill, but again they're leaving out tactics, literally saying that skill beats tactics.
Right.
When your fucking skill is a tactic, like if you think about that, you're doing things that will put yourself at an advantage while putting them at a disadvantage. Skills become tactics, and so. There was the idiot principle followers, and then there were our guys that were survival principle followers, which is better. However, neglecting the other things too. Whereas the way I look at it, you have to get to a place where you figure out that they all interchange and they work together, right? Like if you own nice night vision, well, that becomes a whole bunch of tactics.
That's a whole bunch of different.
However, you have to have the skills to fucking use it,
right?
You know, so now we got gear, skills, and tactics in one. Hey, and by the way, you have to have the fucking mindset to get good with all that shit.
Yeah.
All right.
Just because you have the equipment doesn't mean the dude has been like the dudes who fought in Nam at numerous night engagements didn't have nods and they still killed lots of people.
Mm-hmm.
And they have some shit out there that'll kill a bunch of dudes who have $20,000 kits.
Yeah, like Tom likes to talk about like tunnel rats in Vietnam, and it's like, what the fuck did they have? You know, and like, what did they go through? How hard are those motherfuckers crawl through a fucking tunnel laid with booby traps, knowing there's bad guys in there? You know, or like Gary likes to use the example of guys who fought in the Chosin Reservoir. Like, how hard are those motherfuckers, dude? Right. Like, and that's another thing, dude. Vietnam vets, especially, they've been labeled as like these like broken men that, you know, they're all sad and you know, PTSD'd out. Dude, I've met some Vietnam vets that are hard motherfuckers. Like, and I'm like, this dude is the coolest badass I've ever seen, just from the way they talked.
Right.
Anyway, let's go through some more comments. All right. Hey, pick up your phone. Yep, I got you, bro. Oh, I didn't even read that, but I just saw you had commented. Yep. I owe you a phone call, Javier. Are you doing the masterclass next month? Yep. If Gary, as long as you got, if Gary from Tremors Dynamics is coming here, he's staying at my place, and he's only going to do that if you sign up for class. We need people signed up for him to come down. I watched the Modern Karate tournament, martial arts used for fighting and killing, and now you get disqualified for kicking your opponent in the face.
You get disqualified too for kicking below the belt.
Well, it's like that's like why Musashi wouldn't do his duels were all live blade. It wasn't sticks,
except for that one with the motor.
You want to see the stupidity within our community? Well, remember, we're not in it anymore, right? So we've post non grata ourselves or whatever. Like we're out. It's delusion for the whole year, offering only classes that don't involve gun. See how many warriors and lip tweakers of fundamentals show up. Exactly.
None, because it's not a fundamentals class.
Bro, and that's so funny because it's like the dude that made the video about mastering the fundamentals, he made the videos about me, and the first thing he talked about was the mastering fundamentals is a great way to avoid learning what's actually important. Like he then went and talked about like it was the double speak, like that's what Tom called it. It's like he was like, this is wrong, and then he says it in a way how it's right, and it's like, what the hell is going on? He talks about jujitsu, right? Like jujitsu is so fucking like that. Having those hand-to-hand skills is so fucking important, right? But it's like it says that and still doesn't get what I meant by the original quote. You know, that's the crazy part. It just shows where people are at, like mentally. Like, are they actually trying to learn? Are they really a student?
Live tissue.
Yep, live tissue.
Oh yeah, if I can make the schedule and the money, I'll see if I can make that one. Miss Chuck. I'll
disagree. Basics. If you understand what is, they do win fights. Yeah, they do. But it's like, absolutely. I'm talking about staying at the ground level with basics, like going back to like treating everyone like a brand new shooter every time they come to class, right? So I wouldn't say that you really disagree. I just need to say it better. But it's like, like Sonny would treat someone brand new to all this totally different. Well, not totally different. They would approach things in a different way than they would with like you or me or one of his students who's training with them for a decade, right? Whereas what we see is like, because we take lots of classes outside of our circle. When you go to a class, they literally begin at fucking completely ground level. Now, I'm not saying that's wrong entirely, like, because, I may say something at the ground level completely different than the way Calvin would, but it's like, if we're always just going back to the beginning thing and then just going to focus on how to shoot gun fast, accurately, we're not progressing, That's what I meant by that.
What I mentioned this to Mr. Andrew while ago. I said 9 times out of 10 in a non-permit class, my level 1 class, I always say, you all have enough skill to do every drill here. The question is, are you going to be willing to do it? And that's it. And it's on them, you know? But I don't know. They're shooting classes, right? Not mine, but whatever. Was it?
CCAT medical. Yep. Need to carry medical. Yep. Good to see you guys. Good to see you too, bro. Let's see. It's kind of like gunfighters show up in any class without bringing the fighter part because they can't fight, but they do bring the gun. Yes. Yeah.
Well, I've mentioned it to Andrew yesterday. I was like, because we were frisking everybody during class, and I said, man, if I found a guy who I knew was a gun guy and he didn't have a gun, but he had like a big ass rock or brick in his pocket, I would almost be more worried because I'd be like, oh shit, this dude had enough thought to say, hey, I don't have my gun, but I found this cool ass rock. Frisking, what the fuck you doing this big ass rock? He's like, let me see it. I'll show it for you. Show it to you. That at your
place. You take that at your place. I call it/us Ronan.
Ronan. What does he say? Fancy word for unemployment. Isn't that what they say?
Cowabunga the Hun. I am married. I am already a master at de-escalating and potentially violent situations.
You think you de-escalated it. They're just waiting.
Oh, Zach's here. What's up, bro?
Hello, sir.
Guns. What's up? All right. Prepared citizen. I need to give you a call back, bro. You texted me when I was showing me your range. I'm very excited for that. I'd like to do stuff with you out there. I owe you a text phone call also. I was literally just fucking, no lifing, fucking sewing to get on the road. And so I was no distractions. But all right. Hey, we might do another live stream here in a few minutes. I had other stuff I want to talk about. Just want to talk with Calvin about it. This will be out there as a recording for everyone. So that was kind of the purpose of this. I like gathering my thoughts, doing a live stream on that, maybe reading some comments. I'm not going to promise I'm going to read comments every time because I might be like, need to rant and then get off and read comments later. And that could lead to another video. But hey, thank you for watching. Keep fighting communism. Kill all